भगा दिया दीदी ने मुझको तो, बोला कि जाओ भाग जाओ तुम।
One day my mother and my sister sat with me and told me, we can't get you married through the arranged marriage route. You may have to find your own boy.
मेरी उम्र 26 साल की थी तभी मेरे हस्बैंड घर से मार के निकाल दिए रहे।
47-year-old Ishrat from Nepal was diagnosed with leprosy 20 years ago, which left her hands and legs deformed. She travelled to Delhi for treatment and has never returned. She is aware that most people are repulsed by her disease. However, leprosy is least infectious. It's a disease caused by airborne bacteria which can affect anyone depending on their immunity. This is why leprosy is often perceived as a disease of the poor, as it often strikes those with poor nutrition and hence poor immunity. It begins with a regular skin patch, and the area begins to lose sensation. This gradually results in ulcers and deformities like clawing of hands and foot drop. This is the reason why leprosy-affected people like Ishrat are often ostracized for their disfigured appearance. She's had to move to a leprosy colony in Shadra, New Delhi. It is one of 750 such settlements in India. Over 3,500 families live here and call it their home.
People affected by leprosy would not be allowed into the general community, so therefore they had to go away from the community, and a group of people got together and settled themselves into these colonies. There are about 700 colonies in India, just like this, and it's like, you know, there is segregation. People living in the colonies live a different life because of the discrimination that they face. So at some point we need to see how do we mainstream the colonies into the regular community.
Dr. Sunil Anand is the head of the Leprosy Mission Trust India, an organization that treats, rehabilitates and provides skill training for those affected with leprosy. As a doctor, he admits that despite 125,000 new cases reported in India every year, it's the stigma attached to leprosy that ensures thousands of cases go unreported, making it an invisible disease.
Even though we have a very good cure for leprosy in the form of multi-drug therapy, which actually cures the disease in 6 months to 12 months of treatment, still there is a lot of stigma and discrimination that's associated with this disease.
The ancient city of Allahabad, also known as Prayag, is the most populated district in Uttar Pradesh. And it's here on the banks of the Ganga where people often come in search of salvation. Not too far away, nearly 6 kilometers on the outskirts of Allahabad, is the scenic landscape of Naini. This is where the Leprosy Mission Trust India runs a medical facility which specializes in the treatment and rehabilitation of those with leprosy. Many of those affected by the disease have been abandoned by their loved ones. Uma, who's from Unnao in UP, was beaten up by her husband and thrown out of the house. She's now in her 50s and has been living at the hospital for over 18 years. This is now the only home and family she knows. Uma Devi finds it easier to ride backwards on her wheelchair than she does going back in time.
मेरी शादी हो गई रही ना, उसके 5-6 साल बाद मेरी बीमारी आ गई। तो जब बीमारी आ गई ना, तो हाथ थोड़ा उंगली टेढ़ी हो गई रही, तो मेरे हस्बैंड घर से मार के निकाल दिए रहे।
We asked Uma, anyway, you have no home, you have no family, you might as well stay with us. We were trying to avoid amputating her leg. Her foot was very, very bad. She has very, very small feet. If you just imagine your foot, she has no toes, no midfoot, only the heel area on what she walks on. और पैर वैर सब ठीक थे? कब से था?
5 साल।
5 साल?
हाँ।
तेरी उंगली 5 साल से टेढ़ी थी?
हाँ।
तो फिर क्या फायदा हुआ इंटर पढ़ने का? कैसे ये भी नहीं मालूम है कुछ लोगों के बारे में? यही दोनों टेढ़े थे?
हाँ।
अच्छा और
Heading this hospital is Dr. Premal, who's annoyed with the ignorance towards leprosy, which is curable if diagnosed in time.
it's depressing and upsetting when you get a girl or patient, young person coming with 10 years of deformity. Leprosy deformity caused for 10 years, never taken treatment for 10 years, which means nobody's diagnosed her, nobody started treatment. And I think the major problem is that there is absolutely no awareness either among the medical fraternity and definitely not in the general public.
Doctors say delayed diagnosis and treatment lead to severe deformities. Like in the case of 12-year-old Salim from UP's Hardoi village. If he had been diagnosed and treated earlier, his hands would not be as disfigured as they are today. Salim was forced out of school due to fear and lack of awareness among teachers, students and other parents. This led to frequent outbursts of anger.
Last year when he came, when he was breaking bulbs and tube lights, taking sticks and beating up other elderly, older patients, he's different now. I think he's a little bit more sudhraud is the word, and I think he's much, much better, and so hopefully he'll get back to a better childhood when he goes back. So.
He has undergone 2 corrective surgeries and is shortly to be operated on his left hand. If the operation is successful, he will be able to use his left hand like he used to.
कहाँ जा रहे हो अभी?
ऑपरेशन में।
ऑपरेशन में? कौन सा ऑपरेशन है?
होठों का।
तो क्या करेंगे वो उसका?
फाड़ेंगे।
फिर
क्या प्लास्टर लगा देंगे।
उससे क्या होगा?
उससे होगा 1.5 दिन घर चले जाएंगे।
अरे अभी टेंशन है अंदर से? क्या सोच रहे हो?
सोच रहे हैं, डर लग रहा है।
क्यों?
सुई लगेगी, डर लग रहा है।
क्यों डर लग रहा है?
पता नहीं।
The nurses begin preparing Salim for a major surgery that could take up to an hour or more. Dr. Premal performs over 400 such operations every year. He is currently working on replacing the tendon on Salim's deformed hand. Salim's operation is successful. While he is unable to move his hand immediately, the doctor has assured him that he will recover completely.
पढ़ेंगे, यहाँ से जाएंगे, पढ़ेंगे, जाकर दोस्त से मिलेंगे.
While Salim is looking forward to going back home and rejoining school, he will be leaving his 8-year-old friend behind. Leprosy has affected Manjeet's hands and legs, and he's used to being left all alone.
आप ठीक हो जाएगा तो पापा आपको ले जाएंगे।
हाँ सर।
बोला है पापा ने?
हाँ।
बताओ।
बोले कि ठीक हो जाएगा तो तुझको ले जाऊंगा।
आपको याद आ रहा है घर का? क्यों रो रहे हो? क्या हुआ?
कुछ नहीं।
It's a new day at the leprosy colony in Shadra, New Delhi, but not much has changed for its residents over the years. Only a few are self-reliant. Most have turned to begging, but all have faced discrimination due to unjust and archaic laws.
There are laws in the country, almost 14 to 16 laws, that actually have provisions that discriminate either directly or indirectly against people affected by leprosy. Last year, actually, the Leprosy Mission Trust India worked with the Law Commission of India to identify these laws. The Law Commission came up with a draft bill called the EDPAL bill, that's eliminating discrimination against persons affected by leprosy. This bill actually looks at bringing in an overarching law that neutralizes all the discriminatory provisions that are present in the current law.
The panel behind this draw report, called Report 256, was headed by the previous chairman of the Law Commission. Justice Ajit Prakash Shah has been fighting for the rights of those affected with leprosy for over 2 decades.
All these laws provide infection of leprosy for more than 2 or 3 years as a legitimate ground for either dissolution of marriage, divorce or separation. It's really, such laws should not be continued.
Due to discriminatory marriage laws, women like Uma Devi are not just thrown out of their homes, but are denied maintenance.
अपने पति साहब का फोटो अभी भी अंदर रखा है और उनने आपको मार के निकाला था।
जाने दो, मेरे किस्मत में यही लिखा था, तो मेरे को हो गया। हम का खराब कर्म करे कि हमको भी अगले जन्म में भी हमको भी वो हो, इसीलिए हम नहीं को करें।
Besides marriage laws, there are other laws that discriminate against leprosy. Life Insurance Corporation Act 1956. Under this act, a leprosy-affected person has to pay a higher premium on his or her LIC policy as compared to others. Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act 1956. Under this act, the contraction of leprosy by a spouse can be grounds for divorce or separation, and the affected spouse can be legally denied maintenance of any kind.
Some of the state laws contain a provision that a leprosy-affected person, including a leprosy-affected child, can be arrested and put under detention. It is complete violation of the human rights.
It's not only fighting for human rights, it's also a fight against the age-old misconception that leprosy is a disease of the poor. 52-year-old Jayashree, the founder and CEO of Bangalore-based company IBAS, has fought the stigma of leprosy for over 32 years and admits that it's her family that has helped her overcome the disease.
There's a lot of images of leprosy which is about very poor people who only take to begging after they have the disease. That is not the truth. There are many people like me. The first time I got to know that I have the disease, there was a lot of disbelief and shock. So much of shock that I just felt I don't have the right to, talk. I didn't have the right to express myself. But my family was very supportive, and my older sister would eat from my plate just to show that it's all right. So they were very aware people.
The turning point for Jayashree, however, was finding a partner.
My mother, who's very traditional, told me that you may have to find your own boy. And it really hurt me then. And so I just, the first man who tried to take me out for coffee, I blurted to him that I had leprosy. And he held my hand, and I felt he is God.
Jayashree is now happily married. And there's good news for 18-year-old Neelam from Kanpur as well. She's affected by leprosy and polio and is getting married in the next few weeks.
मेरे हाथ में प्रॉब्लम था, उसके बाद यहाँ पर इलाज करवाने के बाद सीधा ठीक हो गया। अब यहाँ से जाके हम शादी करेंगे, उससे उनको कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है।
We tried a social experiment at a high-end restaurant in South Delhi using Ishrat, who is affected by leprosy, and 2 other actors, the lady who accompanies Ishrat and the waiter who discriminates. Nearly 7 hidden cameras will capture people's reaction to the discrimination by this waiter.
2 glass water देना।
क्या हुआ? पानी
ये आप अंदर कैसे आए?
मेरे साथ आए, पैरों से आए हैं।
आपको अलाउ नहीं अंदर आना?
कैसे अलाउ नहीं है? आपको सारा इतना पब्लिक को अलाउ है, हमको कैसे नहीं है?
हाँ था, खत्म हो गया, दवाई ले रही है।
बट इनको हम अलाउ नहीं करते ऐसे अंदर।
आप पानी रखिए।
ये देखिए क्या है आप ये।
आप पानी रखिए।
मैं पानी नहीं दूंगा इनको।
क्यों नहीं देंगे पानी?
हमारा
प्रॉब्लम क्या
ग्लास
है?
गंदा हो जाएगा।
ग्लास कैसे गंदा हो जाएगा? क्यों आप लिख के लाए? आप पिएंगे तो गंदा
बीमारी
नहीं
लग
होगा।
जाएगी।
तो बीमारी थी, मेडिकेशन ले लिया।
आपको दे दिया ना।
उनको दो पानी।
उनको नहीं दूंगा पानी में।
पानी देना है।
अरे ये मेरी हम अलाउ नहीं करते हैं। आप अंदर आए कैसे पहले बताइए आप। आप अंदर कैसे आए?
दुनिया आया मैं नहीं आई है।
आपको अंदर नहीं आना चाहिए।
ला पानी।
नहीं आप नहीं देंगे पानी।
पानी पानी मैं पीऊंगी, पानी पीऊंगी, खाना खाऊंगी।
पानी नहीं देंगे हम आपको।
हाँ।
आप अंदर आए कैसे?
एक्सक्यूज मी।
हाँ मैंने कहा मैंने ऐसे पेशेंट
आप
को
कौन
ऐसे
है?
लोगों को अलाउ नहीं करते।
आप कौन है?
मैं यहाँ का जो भी हूँ।
ठीक है, आपको क्या प्रॉब्लम है? आप मुझे बताइए।
ये जो आए हैं यहाँ पर हमारी प्लेटें गंदी हो जाएंगी। हम प्लेटें नहीं दे सकते इनको।
गंदी कैसी हो जाएंगी? क्यों उसमें कुछ लगा हुआ है?
हाँ।
क्या प्रॉब्लम?
आप देखिए मैडम आप जाइए। आप इनको अंदर लेके कैसा है?
आपको प्रॉब्लम क्या है?
हमें प्रॉब्लम ये है कि जो हमारे जो गेस्ट बैठे हैं इनको भी बीमारी हो सकती है।
आपके गेस्ट को प्रॉब्लम है ना?
उड़ती है
आपके
बीमारी।
गेस्ट को प्रॉब्लम है ना? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वी आर आल्सो गेस्ट एंड इन केस इफ योर गेस्ट हैव सम प्रॉब्लम आस्क देम, let them come to me and I'll go. I'll leave. You want me to call police or something? I can't do
कोई
that.
सामान नहीं रखूंगा यहाँ पर।
Whatever.
आप टच नहीं करेंगे किसी चीज को भी।
नहीं
आप उठिए।
नहीं, ये मैं खाना खाऊंगी, पानी पीऊंगी। क्यों? हमारा घर में बाल बच्चे नहीं, तुम्हारा से अच्छा बाल बच्चा है। हमारा बाल बच्चा को कोई रोग नहीं लगता। आपको यहाँ दुनिया को कैसे रोग लग जाएगा? हमको खाना
क्या आपको समझ आया उन्होंने
अरे
क्या किया?
ये मेरे समझ में आ गया। वो ठीक बोल रहे हैं। जैसे आपको जो रोग है इसको हम अलाउ नहीं करते। हमारे होटल में आप नहीं आ सकते।
ये रोग एक दूसरा को होने वाला नहीं है। टीबी होता है, कैंसर होता है, और चीज होता है। हर रोग ये रोग किसी को लगता नहीं है।
ये भी लगता है, ये भी लगता है। नहीं आपको हम अलाउ नहीं करेंगे। ये नहीं छोड़िए आप।
ये रोग किसी को
बिल्कुल
लगता
नहीं छोड़ेंगे आप।
नहीं।
सर मुझे आपकी चिंता है। हमें आपकी चिंता है। क्यों नहीं प्रॉब्लम आपको? नहीं प्रॉब्लम क्यों नहीं आपको?
It is not spreading.
नहीं मेरी समझ में अरे लेप्रोसी है।
You don't serve. Let anybody else serve.
नहीं करेगा कोई सर। आप उठिए।
No, they will not get up.
नहीं
What is wrong?
मैं आपकी बात समझ रहा हूँ कि बात मुझे आपकी चिंता है सर।
हमें कुछ नहीं हो रहा। We are happy.
कुछ हो गया आपको?
कुछ नहीं होगा।
आप अगली बार आएंगे आप कंप्लेंट करेंगे हमारे यहाँ करके।
नहीं करेंगे।
मुझे तो आप निकलवा सकते हैं, मैं मानता हूँ। आप इनको बाहर निकालिए। देखो बेटे आपके भैया बोल रहे हैं, जो भी बोल रहे हैं आप चुप रहिए। आप चुप रहिए। हाँ
वो खाने दो। It's your job to give them food. They're paying for.
नहीं मैं तो नहीं दूंगा खाने इनको। मैं सर्व नहीं करूँगा। कोई नहीं देगा ऑर्डर। देखिए कानून में है कि आप ऐसे लोग रेस्टोरेंट में नहीं आ सकते।
कहाँ लिखा है? आपने कौन सा लॉ पढ़ा है?
और किस कानून में लिखा है कि यहाँ के खाना खा सकते हैं जबरदस्ती?
नहीं लिखा है।
देखिए मैम नहीं, ये बिल्कुल नहीं। मैं आप उठिए बेटा।
सारे कस्टमर बाहर जाएंगे।
आप उठ जाइए मैम। उठ जाइए।
यहाँ से खाना खा के जाऊंगी।
कैसे खाना खा के जाओगे? आप बाहर खाना खाइए आप।
बाहर जाके क्यों खाना खाओगे? सब ये टेबल में बैठ के खाएगा, मैं भी ऐसे टेबल में बैठ
अरे
के
ये लोग आए भाई इतना पैसा खर्च करते हैं, इनको बीमारी लगे तो क्या होगा?
नहीं लग सकती। It is not spreading.
सर लगती है। मेरी मम्मी कहती है कि लगती है बीमारी है।
यार तेरी मम्मी कहती तो हमारी मम्मी कहती है।
मेरे पापा भी कहते हैं कि बीमारी लगती है ये।
नहीं लगती है यार दूध की बीमारी। Why are you pushing them out यार? Call a doctor. Find out.
डॉक्टर खुद कहते हैं कि दूर थोड़ा बच कर दूर रही है। आपको कैसे मालूम कि ले रही है मेडिकेशन? कैसे मालूम? कैसे विश्वास करें? मुझे
अगर आपको कोई प्रॉब्लम होगी आप उसकी मेडिकेशन नहीं लोगे, आप बैठे रहोगे उसके साथ।
बट उससे ठीक नहीं होता ना, तो टेम्परेरी ठीक होता।
तो टाइम तो लगता है ना। आपको कफ होता है, आपको टाइम नहीं लगता ठीक होने में।
आप मुझे समझा रहे हो।
Hello, sir. Hi, sir. Excuse me. We are from NDT. It's a social experiment and congratulations, sir. Thank you so much.
This isn't funny. Still,
It's not funny. This is what we all need to react for this. इंडिया में 750 ऐसी कॉलोनीज हैं एंड हम सब ने कभी नहीं सोचा उनके बारे में।
Ishrat is used to insensitivity and a lack of compassion from people known to her, as well as complete strangers. But today, surprisingly, she wins support and kindness from people unknown to her, yet willing to take action.
It's okay. It's fairly okay. We have no problems. And I'm sure leprosy is not spreadable.
And moreover, if we run from these diseases and all, it's not right. कल को हमें भी हो सकता है.
This social experiment brings hope to those affected by leprosy in India. While education and awareness may have changed the perception about the disease, in remote towns, villages, and in our laws, those with leprosy remain the unwanted.